Hi, this is KWSL Salt Life, and today's video is going to show you how we took a 10.25 inch BMW X5 screen and put it into an F30. Once done, you can see that you can have an amazing, massive display that's going to make your BMW look brand new again. I feel like I'm driving a 2020 instead of my original 2014 BMW. This is going to require some modification to your display and your dash, but it's not that difficult. In this video, I'm going to take you through a step-by-step process that shows you how to do it. I've also made some diagrams that show you specifically what you need to modify, and I've even made a template that you can print out at home, put on your display, and it's going to show you exactly where to modify with the Dremel on the display to make this really easy. This process, you need an NBT or NBT EVO BMW. If you don't have that, you're going to have to do a full retrofit, which I actually did on this vehicle. But in this video, just to keep it short, I'm going to focus mainly on the modification to make this 10.25 inch screen fit your car. It's not very expensive. I actually got this thing for $250 on eBay. So it's something that you can really do to improve your vehicle. They have non-OEM screens that you can upgrade, but it seems like they don't have that good of a connection with the iDrive system, and they're also kind of glitchy. So I think, in my opinion, this is the best upgrade you can do. Stay tuned for future videos where I'm actually going to do the full NBT EVO Retrofit as well as this modification. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. Think about subscribing and stay on the lookout for new videos coming your way. Thanks. Okay, before we disconnect the negative battery, if you're in a hot climate, first open all your windows in your sunroof so you don't overheat, as once you disconnect the battery, you won't be able to do this again. For the first step, let's disconnect the negative battery terminal. We're going to use a 10mm socket. Once you've disconnected it, wrap it with a rag and then tuck it away to the right. Okay, step 2, we're going to go ahead and remove the dash using a pry tool. I got this on Amazon. I'll put a link down below in the description, but super helpful. This came with a large kit for 20 bucks. One of the best tools I've used. Start from the right to left. Work over here. Then the next part, we're going to remove this piece. Then next, this cluster, and then down to the head unit. Next, I'm going to use a T20 Torx head. I'm going to use a drill driver for this, but I'm going to keep it at a low setting so I don't spin out the screws. There's 4 of these. Everything that we're going to take apart today is the exact same size, so you can interchange them. Next, we're going to pull out the head unit, which is, in my case, a basic entry model with non-navigation. Also, put some kind of padding down here so it protects your car from the hard surfaces when you pull the head unit out. Let's start with the quad lock. Just pull up this lever and then easily pull out the quad lock. Next, we're going to work on the small jack. The pink one is the satellite radio. The white and black are AFM and AM. And then the purple one is the video monitor. There's a small white tab. Pick up on this carefully and then push it away from you and then lift up. And that's going to release the plug. These are kind of hard to do the first time. So again, just slide up on the little white tab. Press on it on the top away from you and then wiggle to get it disconnected. This last one, push this tab right here and then pull out. I use the trim tool to help me out on that too. That's an option. Now let's go ahead and remove the display, pulling it up vertically and then pulling some slack from the old OEM cable. Okay, the next step is going to be the modification of the display. We'll start that right now. To make this easier for you, I made a template. There's a right side and a left side template. That should be as you're looking at it from the driver's position. So the right side, once you print it out, the first thing you want to do is take this green arrow and measure it with a ruler at home and make sure it matches the number displayed here. Same with the vertical piece. If those numbers match, then you're to scale and the template's going to fit correctly. Next step is just cut it out with scissors, maintaining that you keep the line left when you cut it out. After that, we're going to adhere it to the display. The most important thing is to find this little bump out on the display. That's your center point. Align the bottom left corner of the right template with that location, and then align the yellow data line on the bottom, and then again the yellow data line on top with the silver bezel. Tape it down in 2 positions and flip it over. Pull the paper tight, and then align the blue line here with the natural contour of the original display on the bottom and also the top. When I mean that, this line here. If that's aligned, tape it down, and then all you have to do is trim your bezel using a Dremel until you reach the red dotted line. I would recommend maybe leaving an 1/8 inch short the first time and then fit it to your dash. Don't go too far without custom fitting it. Alright, this is the display we're going to use today in my F30. This is from a BMW X5 SUV. It also has an APIX1 type of connection, this is an older model. The newer model with the NBT EVO uses an APIX2 connection. You can use either one. The APIX2 is a direct plug and play as far as connectivity. The APIX1, if you're going to use it with the NBT EVO, you have to modify your video cable to put a voltage reducer in it. To modify the screen, it's going to take a few steps. The first one is this screen comes with a black tab here and here, a vertical piece that sticks out. And I basically clip those 2 off because otherwise they're going to interfere with your dash. Use a pair of pliers to break off the 2 metal tabs on the back of the display. You'll need to grind down some of the alloy material on the back of the display where the diagram indicates on the 2 protrusions. This is going to allow the display to fully seat into the dash. Just take a small amount of alloy off. The other part that you're going to be required to do is take a Dremel tool and Dremel this area off here all the way up to about this point. This is a lot less modification. From this point, and especially down here, there's a lot more material you have to remove. On the other side, the same thing. I had to modify material here, and then at this point, there's a lot more heavily modification. And when I say heavily, I just mean more material was removed. I only removed the bezel. I did not touch the actual LCD, the metal part of the LCD. This is up close to see what it looks like. And this is required to get a nice proper fit on the dash when you place it. Trim both sides of the display by taping on my template and sanding down the plastic to within 1/4 inch of the red dotted line. After that, check the fit on your dash so you don't remove too much material in case there's any differences between your dash and mine. Continue to modify down to 1/8 inch and then finally to the final fit. I'm trying to give this video for other people that are wanting to do the same thing because I watched a lot of videos. I also read a lot of tutorials, but nobody actually showed me what I needed to do on the inside. When you're getting ready to fit the display, make sure that you have the 2 metal tabs on the bottom of the display aligned with the 2 red screw inserts before you start making any final modifications to ensure the display is centered. I've started removing some of the dash on both sides. As I've understood, it's just a trial and error piece, so I have to just keep messing with it to try to remove enough from each of these sides to let the new 10.25 inch screen in. All right, so I'm probably 15 minutes into this job. I'd say I'm 50% of getting this thing fit where I want it to be. Here's what I've done so far. And this is the part I've shaved off. I've taken out probably 3/4 of an inch on this side. And then on the left side of the display, I've taken off even more. Again, I'll show you the final fit when I'm done. Okay, I think I'm to a point where I have the slots on the right and left side drilled out enough, but what I'm noticing is my display seems like it's too vertical. I need to tip it back just a little bit. So now I have to work on this piece. It's pointy. I need to cut it off more so I can angle this screen back a few degrees. Okay, as I've been cutting, I've been learning that these two tabs in the back, there's little black tabs. Here and here are not on the old display. And they're currently hitting, these two pieces are hitting right here, so I'm gonna have to remove them. I'm just gonna use side cutters. That worked fairly well. These are just side cutters I use for electrical work. So this sits. I highly recommend getting a right angle attachment for your Dremel tool, as it's going to make it a lot easier to get access to your dash. What I'm doing is I'm trying to get this tab down here in the bottom. That's got to come down just maybe another 1/16 of an inch. Currently it's not where I want it to be at, so that's why I'm still working on it. I've got this down pretty good. And also that's also relatively good, but the whole display needs to go down about 1/4 inch at least. As far as modifications go to the dash, I ended up removing material in this location on the right side, again as you're seated in the cockpit of the vehicle, and then on the left side right here there's actually 2 layers. There's a soft layer and a hard layer. I made sure I cut it all the way down to the lower layer. In the diagrams you'll see the areas of the dash you'll need to remove, specifically on the right and left side of the display opening. I also sanded along the front edge of the depression for the display to allow the display to angle backwards. You probably need to add maybe a 5-degree angle to that front lip of the depression. You're going to need to grind down the bumps inside the depression where the display sits. Alright, so I finally have the LCD in. It's a nice fit. Looks professional. It's a good angle on the side. And this took about probably 50 different tries to get it to fit. I had a little more angle this way towards the front to keep it like the stock. I noticed some people online had it straight up, which they said has a lot of glare. Okay, this is the bolt I was talking about earlier. I just used this factory hex pieces. They lined up. I had to put pressure on the top of the screen here when I pushed down a little bit just to make sure I aligned it, but that's the final product. For the next step, we're going to route this new video cable. Again, because this is the Apex 1 video screen, I'm going to have to use this cable. It's been modified by the person that sold me the screen with a voltage regulator. This is going to make sure the voltage coming out of the head unit, which is really designed for Apex 2, is going to be maintained for the Apex 1 level. This part with the block is closest to the head unit, so we need to go ahead and navigate this back to set it up for the screen on top. Next, I'm going to install it to the new 10-inch screen in the back. Make sure that's secure, because some people that have troubles, it's usually because this connector is not secured correctly. Make sure it's seated right. Pull the slack of the cable down into the head unit space, and then install the T20 screws. Okay, with this next step, I chose to use a normal screwdriver, torque screwdriver, versus my drill. I didn't want to strip anything out. I've installed one right here, and the second one is going to go right here. Okay, that part's complete. Now let's assemble the head unit. Make sure these cables are in this zone, and also make sure all your GPS cables, everything else, the Bluetooth you've installed are out of the way as well, and have enough room. Sometimes these get tight and it's a problem, so make sure they have enough slack now. Let's put our padding back. I'm going to start with the video cable. Next, I'm going to do the AM, FM, and satellite radio connectors. Next, the GPS cable. Next, the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi cables. Next, the USB cable, which is very tight. And lastly, the quad lock. Push the quad lock all the way down to make sure it's seated. Sometimes people have had troubles where it's not seated right, but if it looks like that, it's good to go. Okay, next I pushed the cables, the extra cables from the GPS, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi back and down because there's more space in the bottom, and now I'm going to install it. Just make sure everything, first of all, make sure these cables above again are accessible. Make sure these cables on top are pushed out of the way, because I've noticed before when I push the head unit in, this cable will tighten up and get in the way, and then it won't work. So you have to make sure you have enough slack in this location. And then we're just going to slowly slide the head unit back in. There's a slot on either side that you have to have in this groove. Make sure the little tab on this black connector is on the bottom facing down. That's it. Let's go reinstall the battery. Okay, so my project is complete. The display is installed. I just want to show you some of the features with it. Since this is a high def display, it just looks much better. It's really amazing view compared to the old 6.5 inch display. This is the backup camera, which is much better. The full size, just the right side of the backup camera now is the full size of my previous screen, and now I can also see around with the sonar. If we switch into something like the radio station, it's much better, and I also have it coded to see wider. As far as coding goes, you might be able to just plug this in and work correctly. Some people have that luck, and some people will have to go in and use, there's multiple options, but one of the easier ones is called BibberCode. It's an app you can get on your iPhone or your Samsung. And then you buy your ODB2 Bluetooth adapter, which is about 30 bucks, and I think the program is also about 30 bucks for the app. With that, then you can go into actually your head unit and then code it to see the larger picture. But again, this might not be necessary. Another option, which I had done, is I did the NBT EVO Retrofit. So the person that sold me the equipment also coded it ahead of time. So when I plugged my gear in, it all worked perfectly. So you could also have somebody code it using E-Sys, which is they'll remote into your computer using TeamViewer, and then you'll connect a Ethernet cable from your PC to your PC or Mac using something like Boot Camp, they'll connect the Ethernet cable to a ODBT port, which you need an adapter for that, available on Amazon, about 20 bucks. And they'll go in and actually code your system as well. So that is possible. I'd say it's 50-50 chance you need coding, depending if you have an NBT or NBT EVO. Okay, I'm going to show you the final fitment. If you look to the left, it's following the contour perfectly. Again, along the bottom, very tight fit. On the right hand side, again, it follows this contour perfectly. Picture the back side. You can't even see the gap, it's only a 1/4 inch, so it came out really, really good. I'm going to try to give you a video of the back of the display. Because of the angle I put on it, there's almost no space between it. Maybe a 1/4 inch. Looks very professional. You'd never know that it's been upgraded. Some of the people online have a massive gap, so it doesn't look very good. This is much, much better. This has a new NBT EVO upgrade and the 10-inch screen. This thing is just ridiculous. I cannot believe how cool it is in comparison to what it was before. I think BMW did a great job on the interface. And again, if you have an older series like I do, definitely this is a phenomenal upgrade. It just makes you feel like you're driving a new car, so highly recommend it. If you're thinking about doing it, don't worry, it's not that complicated. I'm not a mechanic, so it was not that difficult. The most important part is finding a good seller. I found a great person that's located in Florida. If they're okay with it, I'll put their information down below so you can contact them. They had a really good price and great tech support, so really phenomenal. Much cheaper than buying this through BMW directly. And again, this one has every functionality open up and accessible. BMW charges you for each upgrade, it seems like, for hundreds of dollars, so it's a really effective way to have a great display at a fraction of the cost. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe so we have more videos coming your way.